Hello friends, welcome back to NRI Samay. Extremely sorry, my apologies for the delay. Didi, are you there on call right now?
Yeah. Sorry for the delay.
Oh, no worries, Didi. It's our fault, not your fault at all. So friends, welcome back to NRI Samay for another edition of Sunday show. Wherever you are around the world, once again, a very warm good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today we are delighted and honored to have yet another incredible person on NRI Samay, and more than me, my friends, my colleague and my very dear friend Suresh Idiga at NRI Samay had knit some wonderful words to describe our guest today. These are the words that he has written. She screamed and she shouted. She went on hunger strikes and she went on protests. She was criticized and she was arrested. She led the fight for change and she aged before her age. She fought rain and shine and she showed no signs of tiring down. She is the one and only one, Medha Patkar ji. Didi, thanks for taking your time off and coming to our show and also interact with Indians around the world, Didi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Friends, just to let you know, if you wish to talk to Medha Patkar ji, if you are on USA, you can call on 323-410-0162. Anywhere else in the world, please use your Skype ID and also you can connect to us via NRI Samay Skype ID. So without wasting any more time, Didi, let me ask you this. Life filled with a lot of social activism, and it's been decades, you have been into many movements, and also country has transformed a lot, and we are now into the era of modernization and FDI in retail. What's so different about your early life as social activist and now, Didi?
I was wondering why you are using past tenses for everything that you said. With all humility at my command, I would say that we continue with the same spirit, and it's not just me alone. It's a large number of colleagues, comrades, and all the people at the grassroots, whether in the urban slums or in the Narmada Valley or in the Adivasi, Dalit and other farming villages. And they all have the same spirit because for us, for them, the situation is not changed. And if it has changed for the worst, because their sources of livelihood are being snatched away. And
Right.
Whatever is coming to the country or even to the world, that is coming to the minority, and some sprinklings go to the majority, no doubt. But merely material benefits doesn't mean that the relationships between the people and nature has changed. Still large percentage dependent on nature are suffering, and hence the struggle for survival, struggle for rights is being a must. But no doubt this market and money is making a dent into the society, which we have to take into consideration.
Right.
The youths and educated but also uneducated to some extent are changing. But the state is changing, and that is the worst. The state has absolutely callous relationship with the people whom they are supposed to represent and not just rule. And international interventions are also not giving the true kind of progressive development to the people that will enrich and that would empower, but rather has resulted in much of loot of what they have had. Some benefits, no doubt, but we have to fight.
Yes, definitely we have to fight, and that's a good, fair enough point. And also just to clarify on the adjectives that we have used, for any movement, as you can see, Didi, it needs efficient leadership and then mobilize people, and that's one reason you hold the adjectives whatever we have used here. So I was just trying to understand many hunger strikes in your journey, Didi, and it's not only hunger strikes, it's agitations. What do you do? Well, what is Didi doing after these strikes are done? Is there anything like free time for you, Didi?
Oh, I've never thought of that, but Let me just loudly think. After that means what? Like since yesterday morning till this night, 5 minutes before, I've had a large people's assembly with more than 70 organizations from all over Kerala coming together, and a public meeting on the politics and people's politics, and then the interaction with youth. And then there is hardly any time, but if at all I get one, I would engage in some kind of writing, poetry to articles, and also sometimes singing with children or youths, and sometimes just dreaming or planning and reading and so on and so forth. But I enjoy whatever I do. There is no guilt, and there is no feeling of deprivation or sharing.
Excellent, excellent. And as a young boy, when I was very early in my age, I definitely was hearing a lot about you, Didi, and also Baba Amte ji was in our
Yes.
was as a lesson in one of our books. And when you mentioned just now that you're interacting with a lot of youth and young boys, what is the sense you get? What are the thinking, and what do you see is youth looking at right now?
You see, there are youth and youth, and you can't treat them as a homogeneous group or community. But surely, while many are seen to be becoming market-oriented or corporate-oriented or IT-based lifestyle-oriented, consumerist lifestyle they are seeking, but there are also equal number of them from amongst the educated classes and even the middle or the upper middle classes who are coming to think as to what is happening to the country. And they are the ones who interact on one hand, while there is a large majority of youth who belong to Dalit, Adivasis, toiling communities, who know that their families, they themselves, their communities are not given the due respect, dignity, and also value for their labor, their contribution, their skill. And they feel agitated, and they feel that they should be in the movement, they should be in some organization where they can challenge this. And they think of various ways in which they can do. Many come to us for their vacations to be spent in the villages, in the slums, and they really feel thrilled, sometimes adventurous, but they also feel committed to change this situation. And sometimes their dreams are like utopian, but most of the time, if they stay with us for a longer time, then they feel that what is happening here is worth joining, and then they join us. Those who came for 1 year and stayed for more than a decade are many youth whom we value as the real ones who take ahead the cause, and they are not just successors but our sharers. So we who have become comparatively old, as you rightly mentioned, and still are leading life which is like a youngster's life,
Yes,
I think we learn and we also get inspiration from them, and vice versa.
Exactly. Absolutely true. And agitations all along you've seen, Didi. I think I can't name it. It's like every few weeks I hear something or the other going on. And just wanted to get a sense of has there been a change in how people generally perceive such agitations, or they're by and large not concerned about because they're not directly being impacted? What do you see in the perception of the people, Didi, over the past few years?
I think there are, again, two types of categories. Some who might have felt that these have become, traditional kind of movements, and nothing comes out of these. But those who know that we are not only agitating, we are doing many work, tasks, and carry out it through number of processes. We interact with the state, we interact with the society, we interact with the convinced and the converted, but also to the unconvinced who are challenging us. And we also take up the tasks of Nirman, not only the struggle, but reconstruction, regeneration. For example, in the Narmada Valley, we run the Jeevan Shalas, the schools for life, as those are called. And 5,400 children have passed out of these schools. Well, when I entered, there were only 3 persons who were educated only up to 4th standard. So these kinds of reconstructive activities are very difficult to carry on consistently. But the solar power to the small watershed development to these kinds of activities, whenever and wherever we have taken these up, or even the projects like awakening of youth and shibirs and preparing them to know the acts and apply the laws and constitution to seek their rights, women's empowerment, the farmers taking to the organic farming and our interventions towards that end, fighting corruption, scams, scandals, Adarsha Society, for example, it is our case, our organizations, the Lava City, wherever there is corruption, injustice, atrocities, that's a challenge. And much comes out of it. If that was not there or that is not there, the people's movements, which are the 5th pillar or the first pillar, whichever way you look at it, of democracy, if not the state, then what would have happened? Not an inch of land would be saved. Every community would get displaced without rehabilitation. The rivers are dying. The groundwater is exploited. Hills are being cut. Sand is mined and minerals are looted by the private corporates at the cost of the state exchequer. So all these things we must stop. Inequity and injustice we must fight. And that is what these agitations are achieving to the extent possible.
Right. Very true, Medha ji. Friends, we are live in conversation with Medha Patkar ji, and there's no much introduction needed for describing about Medha Patkar ji. For over 2 decades, Patkar ji has been relentlessly fighting for indigenous tribal masses of Gujarat and other places in India who have been under constant threat of displacement from their native lands due to massive dam projects over Narmada River. In doing so, she has won worldwide fame as well, and no, who else can be more committed than Medha ji? And we are in conversation with Medha Patkar ji. Didi, sometimes it's been, it was dams displacing people, and sometimes it is about real estate, sometimes it's about you talking about Tatas and Zindals. Over the past few decades, you have confronted them, you have fighted with them. In the process, have you seen any change in their attitude, or it's just they talk about development first and people second instead of the other way around?
Change in the attitude or not, but there is change in policies and there is some change in the decisions and actions which follow these kinds of struggles. Because, as I said, we always have been open for dialogue. Many times the opponents misrepresent and misinterpret many things and make a false propaganda. But even when we are on the sit-in or on fast, and that's not that often, it's only rare as the last resort. But we have had dialogue, and through dialogue we get some decisions. Like, for example, the issue of land acquisition, forcible acquisition of land, which came as a British legacy. Even then, British had said no forcible acquisition for the corporates, for the private projects. This will only be limited to the government projects. Meanwhile, the state, the representative state, the sovereign state, the elected state representatives changed the law for the worse, and they started acquiring land for the corporates. Now there have been so many movements because through this law, the people are not just displaced but uprooted, and their resources being taken over. Nothing comes in the form of rehabilitation unless there is struggle and unless there is good policy or law. So then the people only getting cash. So these kinds of struggles are now leading to some change in the act, and they are bringing in the people's consent as a precondition for acquisition. But that's also not totally in our favor. The corporate lobby and others who want more and more of acquisition of land for their own purpose, their own profit, their own interests, are doing it in the name of public interest, and they are lobbying, they are influencing. So we have to cover every ministry and the state as well as the central government, and it becomes a long battle. So nothing comes out that easily. When the slums are demolished in Bombay, we have to dug out the Adarsha Society scam and show to them that those officers who consider the poor people compelled to live in slums as encroachers are encroaching upon the new houses illegally themselves, and now they have gone to jail. So everywhere there is number of multiple front strategies which we have to follow, the legal to the field battle, and then something comes out. And again, to retain it, we have to ally with movements, and we have to build strong unity. We have to have conviction, perseverance, and also creativity in terms of innovative strategies without compromising on our honesty, our values, and our democratic functioning.
Excellent, excellent, incredible. And you've mentioned it right. I think it's sense of victory, if this is true, that you mentioned that right now, like the British policy, wherein the government only can acquire the land, and then you've mentioned that the displacement, when the people are getting displaced, you have to somehow rehabilitate them, and that is right now becoming to a certain extent a reality.
A major issue.
Yeah, major issue, and that is really a great progress in your fight, definitely. And surprisingly, you're true.
But it's not just rehabilitation. People are questioning displacement. That is also an achievement.
Excellent.
If rehabilitation doesn't come through, is what they have realized. And so they are looking into cost benefit. They're looking into the options. They're looking into the whole justifiability or non-justifiability, sustainability and justice or otherwise of every project. That is also an achievement towards the truly sustainable and just development planning.
Exactly. And in Andhra Pradesh, for a specific project called Vanpik project, they've allocated around 24,000 acres of land, if I'm true to myself what I'm saying, but that's what we have heard and read about. So it's like government just procuring this land and then giving it to private parties who are not even worried about rehabilitation, who are just digging the lives of common man and then displacing them without understanding the future of them. So definitely this agitation, this movement that you have brought in is a great sense of progress, definitely, Didi. And I was always wondering, the so-called development projects always end up in displacing people instead of developing their lives in this process. What is this going on, Didi? If you could explain a little bit, that will be really helpful.
You see, many people feel that there can be no development without displacement, but not necessarily so. I'll tell you with the example of industrialization, which is being debated in the country today, and with the Singur, Nandigram kind of struggles, or even the struggles around the various industrial development corporations which are coming up all over the India, people scream and say no acquisition of land for industries. We will not divert our agricultural land for the non-agricultural purposes. Because mind you, in just 10 years, as per the Economic Survey of India, 180 lakh hectares of land, agricultural land, was diverted for non-agricultural purposes.
Oh my God.
So the question of food security to question of livelihood security are raised. And when the people have raised this question, the options are necessarily to be thought of. And those are very simple. First of all, you have the industries not on the agricultural land destroying the green fields, but where the barren land is there. And that land is there in almost every state. Not that there is no such land available. And also the acquired but unused land is not used as the first priority. The second question is, how much land does every industry require? All ancillaries should be at the same place, or you will find out the places in different regions where the infrastructure will reach if it is not already ready-made and available, because that would really we bring in development to that area also? Why conglomerate everything at one place and then displace maximum people? Why take up the irrigated or even unirrigated agricultural land when there is barren land available? And also, what kind of industries where? If it is next to the river, that affects the river water, riverine ecosystem, fish, and then displace the fish workers, farmers, avoid it. That is what the Environmental Protection Act and so many acts, the Air Act, the Water Act tells us. So following law, following rules, following conditions is one thing, but provided the laws are not changed to give concessions to the maximum to the industrialists who are doing their own business for profit more than for public purpose, and the people suffer due to pollution, due to displacement, and displacement results out of change of the resource matrix. It is not only because of the projects, but certainly in the projects where the planning inputs are there, that can be avoided or at least minimized. A height of a particular dam should be based on the proper water flow statistics of the present times. Otherwise, you build huge dams, and as shown in one of the R.K. Lakshman cartoons, the engineer tells the common man that, man, there is nothing wrong technically in this dam, but the dam is built by the time the river is lost or died. That should not happen.
Yeah, so true, so true. And I don't know what's the mantra for development without displacement, but if you were to define some policies, how would you define them, Didi, so that people progress with also in parallel there will be growth of business? What would be some key policies that you think are something that is simple, implementable, and that will basically be a mantra for development without displacement?
First of all, if the people are with consent, with their own approval, their own participation, change the resource matrix, hands over the resource, say even land or water, that is not displacement, that is investment. Just as someone will give money to a project, the others will give land, but provided they also are the sharers in the benefit. So in order that this happens, where the people are the decision makers, there has to be absolutely democratic development planning. And there is nothing utopian or impractical about it, because even our own constitution, the Indian constitution, has clearly stated that there would not only be the three-tier panchayat raj system from the village panchayat to the district, but there will be village community which is to be considered as or moved towards village republics. And that was Gandhi's idea, but also Baba Saheb Ambedkar, the forefather of constitution, has sown seeds into it, and later in 92-93, one article 243 was introduced which says that every village community should become financially self-reliant. That is what the Finance Commission should plan for, and that they should be considered as the partners or participants in the development planning process. Now, that is not properly reflected in every state law. That is a flaw or a fraud, whatever it may be. But this has to happen according to the constitution. In the Adivasi areas, according to the PESA Act, the people need to be not just consulted, but sought consent of. And then the people will avoid displacement, minimize displacement, think of various options, alternatives. Even if it takes little time, it will be more sustainable and more just. And then not only what kind of industries should come up where, but whether the people need livelihood generation through those industries, whether it is possible, and whether the benefits are sustainable, whether inequity will grow or equity will come in through the projects, whether the water will be really harnessed and saved also for the next generation, or everything would be finished through one single project when we see that big dams also make rivers die. All these questions will be raised. Environmental, social, financial, economic, political issues come to the fore. And then with consent, the development planning will proceed, which will be constitutional, legal, and also humane. And that is what we are for. Also note agricultural land to be diverted. The time has come to put a moratorium at least. And the private projects or the corporate projects should be treated as private projects, whether they are public-private partnership projects or otherwise. That is also our position, because even British did not allow forcible acquisition, but not because of that, because the private projects are taking over the resources. Minerals, for example, worth crores of rupees, and the state exchequer is not getting filled. Neither are the affected population rehabilitated, as in the Krishna Godavari basin, where serious ecological problems, land is sinking. There is an incidence of subsidence, but also some are benefiting, like millionaires who are also there in the parliament, but also outside, at the cost of others who are not well fed, not well clothed, who are not getting the shelter and also basic amenities like education and health. So all these things to be changed, the priorities to be changed. We have to change the planning process, which will really be democratic and directly democratic, because representatives are not representing farmers, fish workers, Adivasis, natural resource-based communities, and also not the 96% of our workers who live on the human resources, who belong to so-called unorganized but really unprotected sector of our workers.
Exactly. Very well said, Didi. And also you're true when you say some few private parties literally digging the mineral resources, and we've seen this episode in Bangalore and in Karnataka as well, wherein a few private parties, as you mentioned, who are sitting in parliament and the assembly, Gali Janardhan Reddy and the people have. I read somewhere that 90% of the forest is totally routed, and it's just for the private gains, and they've become multi-millionaires and completely ruined the lives of people. Many people went untraced, they're displaced from their places, and they lost their lives. So true.
And also unjustifiable displacement. Taking the Reddy brothers example ahead, they would bring airports which would be their private airports, their infrastructure which would be private infrastructure. What right do they have, one single family or three brothers, three families, to take a toll of these intergenerational resource base and people's livelihood? The court also finally ordered return of some land which was acquired for airports of the Reddy brothers, because the whole scam got exposed thanks to Santosh Hegde and the Lokayukta. And thanks to people who also kept on the movement.
Yes. We were in conversation with Santosh Hegde ji recently on NRI Samay, and truly an incredible man. He relentlessly fought and then brought this Reddy brothers to justice. I don't know where it ends, but of course it's heading in a direction where this has stopped a little further.
Unfortunately, the politics is taking turn there.
Yes, absolutely, Didi. And Didi, when the social activism comes into picture, government has got a very simple one-liner saying that, hey, you're all social activists, you don't represent the people, you're not sitting in the parliaments, you're not sitting in assemblies. So they're just pushing or brushing all these movements, saying that, hey, it's just a movement and you don't represent the true democracy, you're not people who are sitting inside the parliament and assemblies. Well, how do these social activists really transform into a strong political force that can combat these vested interests, Didi? Can you throw some light? This is a question that's basically being asked to Anna Hazare's movement. This is a question that's being asked to Didi's movement. This is a question that's being asked to many different people who are working on social activities all throughout the country. How do we justify this? You are a social activist. You are not a political activist. Nor you represent the true democracy.
It's a very good question. We have National Alliance of People's Movements, where movements from not less than 20 states have come together, and they are a force. Although they don't not seen on the streets every time, because we don't have money, we have no resources. We fight against all odds. But we are political, although we are non-party political. We are non-electoral political force because we feel that the electoral politics is a small part of politics. Politics really means the processes of resolving conflict within society.
Right.
Those can be economic conflicts or social conflicts, and that is through the proper decision making, proper laws and proper structures and action agenda. So in order to really achieve that objective, where we would like to resolve conflict towards equity, justice, socialism, brotherhood, liberty, all freedom to individual citizens, all of that is there as the constitutional value framework for Indian countries, for example. Now, this is same for every country. So if the representative democracy, which is what we have consciously adopted as a sovereign nation state, is not really representing a large majority of population, but is engaged in corruption, not only of money, but also of natural resources,
right,
then there has to be a solution. And it is towards that solution that people are in struggles. Now, when we are in struggles, we are with people. We are not just for people. Otherwise, we cannot continue for long. Take it from me.
Right.
So it is necessary for anyone to understand that the direct democratic ways, means, structures, fora, processes are also a part of the democratic tradition and democracy itself, not just the Lok Sabhas, the parliaments and the assemblies. So we are, for example, holding People's Parliament as Jana Sansad and People's Assembly as we just had since yesterday in Kerala state. And we had 6,000 people on the Sansad Marg on 23rd of March in Delhi. Then we had People's Parliament for 4 full days. It is necessary, therefore, to have these kinds of parallel political measures or solutions, but that is not saying the state of today should withdraw. Right. That may be a Maoist position, but even Maoists are entering into the electoral power positions as they did in Nepal, so they are not non-compromising on that. But we feel even today that the state to be omnipotent and omnipresent is something which is dangerous, as dangerous as autocracy, more or less, because that state, if is ruling through these kinds of democratic fora, I call them democratic still, but they which behave undemocratically, where the representatives have 300 millionaires amongst 544 members of parliament, without committing any contempt of parliament, without disrespecting them. We would request them, we would appeal to them to think 100 times as to what is happening to this country. What kind of laws, what kind of acts like SEZ acts are coming up, bringing in or enlarging disparity much more. So I think then the people who feel they are not represented, their causes are not represented, the laws are going against constitution and against human justice, not just legal justice, they then start representing themselves and they assert rights, they take decision making, which gives them duties along with the rights, of course. But that is what is the democratic people's politics. And strengthening this becomes a force that at least saves something. Otherwise, going into the electoral politics, it is all likely that you will have to be compromising if you have to ally with others and you have to have a vote bank and then come to power through alliance politics. All compromises. We have seen so many going in and getting lost.
Right.
So if some people want to fight elections with good intentions, good commitment, no doubt there is scope and there is space. But don't think going inside as a few representatives, even if elected, would bring in magical change or transformation. Movements, on the other hand, remain outside but are not apolitical, and they can also bring in electoral reforms, and not just reforms but revolutionary change in democratic system. That we need to change can better be done by remaining outside is what is the thinking of many, many movements, but some are rethinking about it in the globalization, liberalization context. We all wish well for all categories of people, provided we all keep ourselves committed to the cause. And my National Alliance of People's Movements in which we as conveners have a collective leadership is certainly in the non-electoral politics, where we feel the state is not the only responsible decision maker. The society is also a decision maker, and society through communities and various sections should take the decision making, even the power in its hands, which will be people's power.
Right, absolutely true, absolutely. In all this
Sorry for a long answer in order to explain.
Oh, no, perfect answer.
Sorry,
Didi, it's honestly, it's a great pleasure and honor today to interact with you, because the point is, the reason why from Los Angeles we started NRI Samay, the reason is there's a lot of social activism, civil movements, protecting civil rights, but one thing all these movements have really ignored, or it didn't really matter much because it's all about people, is somebody or some media or some channel or outlet that takes the message to the people. Yesterday, we were in NRI Samay in conversation with Rahul Banerjee, who's an IITian from Kharagpur, and for past 25 to 30 years, he's working with the Bhil tribals or Adivasis, and honestly, nobody in this world is even bothered to bring that to light. Such an incredible man with incredible record and incredible work. If there is no, like we call media as the fifth pillar or fourth pillar or whatever it is, right? So if there is no media, the point is the social activism is taking a backseat because there is no media that represents the true social activism. That's the exact reason why at NRI Samay we felt, after Anna Hazare ji came on fast, that there should be some effective medium where we can bring the other side of the coin as well, not the mainstream media that we see. So what's your perspective on, do you find the media representing the true people's movement and social activism, Didi?
Now the space in the media is getting shrunk, no doubt, because the corporate takeover of space, not just of the system that is functioning through media, but there is still space compared to many other countries. I think India is better still. There is also flourishing of media. It is to the extent of one calling it inflation, but still it is there. And even the alternative media are growing, because where the so-called mainstream media are not giving coverage to the mainstream vision, parameters, perspectives, problems, which people are representing from the urban slums or the rural hinterlands. Like the Satyagraha is on in the Narmada Valley as on today, and the people are cultivating 50 acres of government land because their land is lost and they are not rehabilitated, and which is their right. Now, not every media will run to it, but the government knows the value and the importance of that action. And we also don't run after media. Wherever and whenever media covers it, welcome. Today in Kerala, the media was with this People's Assembly fully. But the corruption that we have dug out in Mumbai of every single builder almost, or in Narmada Valley, the corruption worth 500 to 1,000 crores in rehabilitation, and the dam remains stopped because of that also. The media is not that sensitive to it, but once they pick up the story and they find there is truth in it, and there is honesty or genuinity, and there is also news value. They don't nowadays look at the news value, the views value alone. They look at the news value, N instead of V. But still, you cannot work for and with media only, or based on the media perceptions. You have to have your own perceptions, your own commitment. No doubt media helps you propagate your viewpoint and reach out. The present kind of social networking, which we are not in it much. I don't work on the computer myself, but my colleagues, a number of our supporters, whosoever help in that is a welcome, provided you know also the vices that come with that technology, faceless communication through Facebook, so on and so forth. But still, I think you have to choose kind of a combination of your own strategies as well as your medium. Like we don't take foreign funds, but
Yes.
we take the Indian funds, we raise funds, but we have to be very selective
Yes.
because we want to maintain our culture where our relationship with the society at large will be strengthened, not weakened. So these kinds of, choices are there for every movement. And it's not so easy to make choices, but we make those with all honesty.
Right.
But many times misrepresentation, defamation, misappropriation to the extent that you feel like laughing at it.
Yes.
You can't just laugh and leave it. You have to also fight legal battles of defamation. And there is so much of wrong information being fed. That happens. And we have faced it. Can't go into details, but
Exactly.
I can. If
I know.
anyone asks.
I know. The point is, we've been in NRI Samay in conversation with J. Gopi Krishnan from Pioneer, who's brought out this story after story of this 2G spectrum scam. And he said a lot of these pockets of media and the media journalists that you see are not, it's not about they're doing some illegal things. They're immoral things. They're doing immoral things, like the Barkadat issue, wherein she was lobbying for various parties around the spectrum arena. It's all about doing an immoral job, not an illegal task. So it's definitely it's a tough deal to talk about it. More than anything else. But Didi, you told about it's tough.
Revealing statement by the media person himself.
Exactly.
He must have borne a lot.
So when you mentioned about the National Alliance of People's Movement, I just wanted to understand a lot of activities that you guys in NAPM do, which is ranging from land acquisitions, market-oriented development, and also induced displacement. Can you share some light on that? Because there are a lot of activities going under one umbrella of NAPM. How do you raise funds, and how can people around the world help? Or can you throw some light on how people can get connected to NAPM and how they can basically contribute to NAPM?
First of all, they should understand our vision and perspective, and they can also question it, but they must look at it from a closer angle with all abilities and their own questioning. But it is the people's movements who have been of agricultural laborers, of Dalits, of Adivasis, unorganized sector workers, and so on. And fight is basically for equity and justice. So obviously the buffer is not there for these people who are fighting. They need all kinds of support. And the first and the foremost support is solidarity to be expressed. Because that expression of solidarity, if it comes at the right point of time, and today's context, when activists are attacked, Akhil Gogoi in the valley of Brahmaputra, I know how sincere, genuine and mass-based he is. But if he is attacked by, of course, the goons of the corporates, who else, or the agents of the state, then the support is necessary. Ramesh Agrawal is attacked in Chhattisgarh. Devram Bhai is attacked by the sand miners in the Narmada Valley. And many builders have attacked many of my colleagues in the Ghar Bachao, Ghar Banao Andolan in Mumbai. Now, when we have dug out the Adarsha kind of scam and other scams, the risk is always there. But the people across the world and across the country coming forward to support, express solidarity by writing letters, issuing statements, and use the technology which you feel comfortable with, but at the right point of time, makes a lot of difference. Just yesterday, the people in Satara district belonging to NAPM were sitting on the river bank, because without rehabilitation, the water was getting filled. And it was no doubt influencing the decision making, pressurizing. But what else can you do if you are the non-violent people's movement? You only have these kinds of innovative satyagrahas at to your resort. So you resort to those. And then the open gates had to be opened. And that is very much lawful, very much just. Not just stopping development, but bringing in justice into development. So many people wrote to the Chief Minister, called the collector, called various authorities, and that gave a lot of support. Same in Narmada. Narmada, whenever we were 5,000 people on the streets and in fast also the support came, same came to the anti-corruption movement also. But the people many a times have sympathy, but they don't express it.
Right.
Expressing it by participating in action is the best. But if not, from wherever you are, you express that, you write about it. As advocates here in India, you fight our cases. As someone who is closer to United Nations, you raise it at the appropriate forum, so on and so forth. So NRIs are also an influential lot. I think they should not only think of investing money, they should invest their influence, they should invest their vision and their support, and that would really bring in more justice in this Indian situation and also democracy. If you have to fight corruption, look at who all are fighting corruptions. Every scam and scandal that we are digging out is worth a battle. Because without these battles, even one single law cannot bring in magic. And that's why we are supporting Jan Lokpal, but we are not giving all our time only for that. We are in all these actions and agitations, and as NAPM, we certainly feel there should be at some point of time international alliance of people's movements as well. Because from the local to global, we have to fight many factors, many forces at many fora. Like World Bank was in Narmada, they were violating their own manuals, their own laws, and depending on the false data bank which is provided to them, they were moving ahead, but then they got it reviewed and they realized Sardar Sarovar is not only development, it is also destruction and huge displacement. Lakhs of people were not yet displaced, fortunately, and they are to fight. So then the World Bank withdrew. Now in this, international organization, whom we had no funding agencies, played a role. Many people don't understand this. They feel all our sources are foreign. No. We collect wheat from the farmers. Our office for the first time after 25 years of struggle was built. All bricks were given by Kumars, the potters. All sand came from the Gram Panchayat. Land was given free, and not one paisa came from outside that region of Madhya Pradesh. So there are such people, there are such organizations, and still we require material in-kind support, financial support for our schools, etc. Provided you believe in us, you have faith in our perspective, agree with us, and you also look at it closely, and then you donate in the Indian currency only. So all of that is really what matters for perseverance.
Excellent. And any of your team is maintaining some kind of a website so that people can get more information on NAPM, Didi?
There are some supportive youth, not we ourselves, who have maintained with very sincere efforts and skills the website known as www.narmada.org. I don't know whether it is fully updated, but for NAPM there is a website, I think napm-india.org, where also we are trying our best. We are falling short. We need that kind of support also, from the people who are with us.
Oh, excellent. And Didi, you've mentioned about a lot of financial support, a lot of support in terms of kind, and many different kinds of support, like extending support on the social forums and also website. And just to, even before I wrap up, I know you were sleeping and then I woke you up, if I'm right. And so sorry for that, but I'll wrap it up real quick. But even before I wrap up, I wanted to understand, Ahmedabad court will hear in an assault against you on Monday. So can you tell us the background of the case in a little bit, and then the charges they have made?
I think that is, a case of an attack on me in the Sabarmati ashram, unfortunately. When it was a post-riot peace meeting, which was organized by Advocate Girish Patel, PUCL, Mallika Sarabhai and others. And when I was invited and I went there, I was attacked by those who felt I am against Narmada project and so I am against Gujarat. And they included the top brass of Congress and BJP, but mainly BJP. And they also attacked all of them together with the National Council for Civil Liberties, one such NGO, which is not mass-based at all, coming from the corporate and political support. They also were involved. and that FIR was filed because there were so many witnesses of all categories and organizations belonging to a common force that was for peace. So that case has come up after 10 full years. In between, no proper summons were issued and so on. Lawyers are fighting it, and I think we have to fight number of defamation cases, criminal cases filed by us or filed by them. But those cases against us, we are mostly acquitted because those are false cases. And nowadays, attacks are on with the black laws in India, which is again a battlefront that all activists and all organizations have to fight, and we need international support in this. We need international support in exposing the interventions, which are wrong interventions, and the financial interventions also of the international financial institutions, which are changing our policies for the worse towards privatization, liberalization. We need support for representing the people here at that level, whosoever can done it effectively. So I think the cases, legal actions, everything needs support of the youngsters. We need interns who would be committed and ready to do hard work.
Right, interns, very well said. NAPM team would need interns who can just come and then work for a little while and then understand what's going on inside. That's a good way to put in. So Didi, thank you very much today for coming on our show and then interacting with all our listeners around the world. I'm sure from NRI Samay, we could at least take the message forward as far as your movement and your efforts are concerned. So thank you very, very much, Didi. I know I woke you up, you were sleeping, and then it's a real honor to Didi, it's a real honor to have you on our show, and we'll keep in touch with you. And thank you very much again, Didi.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
I hope there would be questions.
I know.
Which I would also be able to answer some other time.
Sure, Didi. We'll keep in touch, and then if I have any
questions.
questions.
There are also many films on the YouTube, Narmada, for example, the film on Schools for Life and so on also can be seen. Okay. Yes,
and we will put that information on YouTube when we prepare this video as well. This interview will be again on youtube.com/NRI Samay. I'll try to sneak in as much information as possible so that people will
be action alert along with it.
Sure.
That would be good.
Sure.
Various issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Didi. Good night. Bye. So friends, that's it for today. We had Medha Patkar ji, and as you are all aware, Medha Patkar ji is a well-known social activist of India. She was born on 1st December 1954 in Maharashtra in a freedom fighter's family, and her father actively fought in the independence movement as well. So after completing her MA in social work from Tata Institute of Social Sciences before she became an active social worker, and Medha Patkar ji is involved in many different agitations, and she is a true representative of the sentence for the people, by the people, and so definitely I hope you had a wonderful time listening to her today live on NRI Samay. And stay tuned, my friends. We have more coming up on NRI Samay very soon. We have Anshu Jamshenpa, the woman, the only woman who conquered Mount Everest twice in a span of just 10 days. So we'll have Anshu Jamshenpa coming on NRI Samay very soon. And thank you very much for tuning in today. And even before we wrap up, listen to this wonderful music. Thank you, friends.